Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Peter Counter and I am the editor-in-chief of FindBiometrics, where we are ramping up our coverage of the travel and hospitality industry in preparation for our next Virtual Identity Summit on May 18th, dedicated to all the ways biometrics and identity are transforming airports, hotels, sports stadiums, and entertainment venues. That entertainment side of the equation is of particular interest now, as contactless identity technologies like facial recognition are poised to help us all get back to sports games, concerts, and performing arts events safely and conveniently after 2 years of a disruptive pandemic. Recognizing the importance of guest services and hospitality, FindBiometrics recently partnered with the Innovation Institute for Fan Experience, or IIFX, and on this special episode of the ID Talk podcast, our own Director of Digital Media and Events, Doug OGorden, sat down with IIFX Director and Co-founder Dr. Lou Marciani. The two spoke about the origin story of IIFX and the overlap between the fan experience industry and the biometric space before digging into IIFX's own May event, FANCENTRIC, which is taking place May 24th in Las Vegas. It's a fascinating conversation and about a fun and active identity market, so without further ado, I am pleased to present Dr. Lou Marciani, Director and Co-founder of the Innovation Institute for Fan Experience, in conversation with FindBiometrics' Doug OGorden, right here on ID Talk.
Hi, FindBiometrics listeners. Doug OGorden here, Director of Digital Media and Events. I am with Dr. Lou Marciani, Director and Co-founder of the Innovation Institute for Fan Experience. Short, I think we're going with IIFX.
Yes, we sure are, Doug.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good answer for that one.
Welcome to our podcast.
Well, listen, I'm excited to be here. There's so much going on in our profession today, particularly in technology, and glad to have the opportunity to talk to you about it.
Sure. Tell us about the origin of IIFX and what does your organization aim to achieve in the sports industry, entertainment industry, security industry, biometrics too.
And biometrics too. Doug, probably back in 2018, I knew that there was a need for a global alliance of thought leaders and subject matter experts that want to take the time and look at the critical issues facing the sports and entertainment industry. That's 2018. Here comes the pandemic. And luckily, we were able to form a national task force of about 98 professionals to look at the return to work, play, and spectate. And we spent many months putting an ebook together on how to return. And during that period, they suggested that we go ahead and establish the institute. So in October of 2020, the institute got off the ground, and it's very interesting. It's really. The Institute's built around the fan journey from the time they leave their home to the time they get back. And we want to create in the industry that ideal environment that helps the organizations grow financially, hopefully increase their attendance. They're going to be looking at maximizing the health and the safety and security of their spectators. So at the end of the day, it's an interesting niche to look at things from the perspective of a fan.
Sure, it's in the travel industry, it's keyboard to couch as the way of getting there, and I guess you're going keyboard to event seat and everything that's happening till you get there. And that's a good segue because we've partnered as collaborators because we see sports and entertainment as a growing opportunity for biometrics and identity technologies, particularly when it comes to providing a safe, trusted, frictionless, convenient fan experience, whether it's contactless venue access or automated concessions or easy, secure mobile ticketing. What are the biggest identity and biometrics opportunities you see in the entertainment space?
We can thank the pandemic. During that period, we saw a great growth in technology being implemented and developed and implemented, particularly around the health and safety mode. So the technology people didn't go to sleep during the pandemic. And the second thing that we saw here is that the venues are acceptable to listening to change. And that's very important, what I just said. If the pandemic didn't come along, I think we would be struggling. We're trying to convince team owners and university presidents, et cetera, to think about technology. Well, it did happen. And it was built around, if you think about it, in our world of biometrics, et cetera, it was built around enhancing health and safety, because the number one demand of the fans was, this facility better be secure and safe and clean. So removing friction would be number one. That got us to where we want to be with biometrics. And two, we want to boost security. World's changing. The world is changing in front of us. And thirdly, really, to do what I do every day is that's to enhance the fan experience, to reduce that line at the concession stand, to speed their way into the games, et cetera, et cetera. So we lucked out here, Doug. And you look at 90%, 97%, I think, of our population has a smartphone. So that's another factor that has really, over the last 10 years, has changed. So we're positioned now for an acceptance of biometrics. I think we're in the era now of that identification, the speed, friction. So my answer is we have to take advantage of what's going on in our society to take advantage of technology that's going to make it better.
Yeah, it's just like what we're doing here, doing this Zoom or whatever, Teams, Zoom, all these interviews that we're doing now. This used to be uncomfortable, and now it is very natural. I use that always as an example of how we've gone from one thing to another thing very quickly, and I don't think we're changing. We're just adapting or adopting new things.
I think another thing, Doug, that's come out of the pandemic is human factors. The human being has been elevated in the sense of looking at their needs better, being safe. They became cautious of their lifestyle. So it makes sense that we, move forward in this whole area, authenticity and et cetera. So I feel good about where we're going.
Well, and moving forward here, this is kind of off the cuff, but I saw something online this week, Lou, that's gonna excite you. There is a new wave of young children, everyone using their smartphones, right? That whole group of people. And I use my smartphone, but the way these people use their smartphones, it's very natural. There's an adoption of the younger generation going to stadium venues to watch video gaming happen. And imagine what you could do inside of a stadium full of younger generation and the technology you could have inside there that they could be using. That's a whole nother part of your industry.
A whole nother day. I think we're going to keep an eye. Each generation has their good and bad. I mean, the young ones now are the ones that we have to pay attention to. You're 100% right. Augmented reality to esports to the older people with the sports betting bars.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I didn't know what to call that. It is esports. So, like having 100,000 people come to a stadium to watch the Super Bowl of esports is the future,
Yeah.
or it will be something that we will see.
Well, we'll be seeing the use of venues in different ways down the road, Doug. You're 100% right. So it's very exciting, to be honest. You're really right. You said, I'll be excited. I think technology is going to play the key role here as in the next 5 years. Who knows what's in front of us there? But it's so exciting to see the changes taking place to make it better, safer, secure for fans to enjoy themselves, basically.
Yeah. And I maybe jumped into my next question, though. And what is the current landscape like? Do you see an enthusiasm for biometrics or identity-related solutions in the fan-centric sports and entertainment industry? And do you have any success stories or case studies or things that you could share with the audience on how biometrics are being used?
Yeah, I think there's still a little concerned about privacy. But I think, as I said earlier in the conversation, I think it's kind of waning a little bit. I think we're on the right, finally starting to make some moves there. So I think there's chance here to really make a dent in the industry. I'll give you a good example of a case study too. A company that's working with the New York Mets. I really like what they're doing. It's facial recognition and touchless access platform, a combined platform.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here I'll say it again: facial, sure. Facial connection and touchless access platform. And I talked with the people at the New York Mets. They're very, very happy. They're increasing their entry speed tremendously. Fans have been receiving it well. By the way, this is New York now, receiving it well. Actually, the issue is not on the access side, but on the security side. Is some changes have to occur on our side, right, the security side, to keep up with the speed of the new entry that you're providing. So we're going to see a big change. Doug, I don't know. I'm high on the idea that someday the way we approach access and credentialing is going to be much different than we're talking about today. So let's say we move forward to 2030. I don't think you're going to go to a gate anymore and show your access to credentialing. I think it's going to be way back. There'll be sensors picking you up way back and clearing you all the way through, so that it's almost like you're just going into the stadium. But that's down the road. But we're starting in that direction now. I just said to you very easily, access is easier now than the security side. Security has to catch up to access, so that when a person comes to a Met game, they're going right in, literally. Okay. So that's a good case study. The New York Mets are doing a great job with this new system. We're keeping an eye on it. I think it's the forerunner of the future.
Awesome. And then congrats on your upcoming event, FANCENTRIC. It's May 24th through the 26th, and it's in Las Vegas. It's a physical event. So what are some of the highlights for attendees coming to your show, and how can our listeners learn more about your conference?
This is a unique conference, first of its kind in the United States, where we really built this conference around the voice of a fan and what they go through and how do we better prepare for that. So I'll take you through the pathway of the conference. It's kind of starts off with defining the fan journey. What's this definition of it? And we're bringing in Larry Olmsted, who is a New York Times best-selling author, who wrote a book called The Fan. And we also invited 4 key fans, true avid fans in this country, to attend the conference. So there'll be integration with the voice of the fan saying, here's our concerns, to here's how we can do it better, etc.
Is that a panel? Is that a panel on the
That'll
event
be a
with you?
panel, but we're going to also integrate them throughout the conference. Yes.
Neat.
That'll be the opening day on the 24th. But you look at defining, Doug, the journey, but we're going to get into some factors that affect the journey, right? In 2022 here. Example, safety and security, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get into gambling is affecting the journey. The change in the world is affecting the journey. That could be, we're into a war right now. We're coming out of a pandemic. It could be that there's another variant. We don't know, but we have to look at that. We have to look at what this transition is from a pandemic to an endemic as well. What are some of the new business models that are out there based on increasing revenues, attendance, et cetera? And we want to look at sustainability. We want to look at facility design, et cetera. And then we want to move the conference into what are those influencers of the journey, such as the sentiments of the fan. What is the fan thinking about today and tomorrow? And what about changing the fan base to more inclusive fan base approach? So we'll do that. And then lastly, where the finale of the conference is what are the strategies for implementing the journey? And then really starting, we're going to start to build out best practices for the journey. And we'll do that looking at ticketing, looking at building access, looking at crowd management, fan engagement, food and beverage, et cetera. So it's a wonderful conference that starts from defining the journey all the way through leaving, hopefully with an ebook to beginning of the best practices for fan journey.
Nice. Okay. Well, here's a little plug. How would our vendors or the people that are our advertisers, how would they start working with you, or the biometrics and identity crowd? Give us a little information on how to reach you and how they could get involved with this event.
I'm glad that's a great question, because that's where we want to head. We want to head toward that things that we mentioned earlier on about the environment being easier for people to be identified, to frictionless, et cetera, et cetera. I think it would be good for those in our industry with biometrics lead is to at least attend the conference, first of all, maybe to get a feeling of what's going on in the nation and the world. They all they have to do is go to IIFX.org, IIFX.org, and the conference is all set up there, from registration to housing at Caesar's Palace, et cetera. Secondly, I think the partnership between the two organizations here. We want to in 2022-23 look at bringing in these outstanding corporations and tying them into the X Experience Consortium. And the consortium is where we look at tomorrow's technology and partnership with other major corporations in the world. So let's get them exposed to who we are, exposed to the industry itself by coming to the conference, and then the follow-up would certainly be engagement with the X Experience Consortium.
Sure, and I've attended previous Lou Marciani events, and he drags in the best of the best to attend his event. So you'll see any place that has more than 20,000 people in it. I mean, he gets 100,000 seaters to his event. So I won't name any names, but they're the large colleges and every professional sport you can think of, and maybe even esports this year. Who knows? And then so finally, we'd love to emphasize that we are both professionals in the industry, but we're also fans, end users, and consumers. And we're just trying to make the world a little bit safer, a little bit more secure, and a lot more trustworthy. So as a fan, how do you envision the ideal fan experience, or the fan-centric experience in the future? So let's your crystal ball, Lou, 5 years from now, when I sit down in a stadium seat, or maybe I don't even sit anymore.
No,
what does that look like?
I think this is the conference that we're going to study that, and I think you're 100% correct. Barring any external issues, i.e., pandemics, right, wars, whatever it may be, I think we continue to study what the fan behaviors are and what they're going to be. And like you said, the youngest generation is different than the millenniums, than the baby boomers. So as you look at stadiums and arenas, et cetera, I see, would you say, I see less seats. I see more community clusters. And, I really do. They're not clubs, but they're areas within the large areas of stadiums that are stand-up kind of, tables where I can be talking to you, watch the game on the screen, leave you and go to another community. Social kind of socialization, particularly like baseball, for a good example, But our obligation to the fan is safety and security and health safety, number one. And that's what they want. And that's not going to change, Doug. Is this environment safe for me and my family? That's number one. Is the stadium secure is number two. But I think their demand for connectivity is where this 2025 is going, meaning that I just can't sit there anymore. I'm going to use my mobile app. I'm going to connect with a player. I'm going to connect to another fan. I'm going to look at what's going on someplace else. So we have to keep a strong handle on immersive opportunities as we go to 2025. And that's what we're doing. We're connecting the fans to in a better way than just traditionally, where you went to a game, you sat down, you had hot dog, you had a beer or whatever, and you watched the game and you went home. Well, that's not satisfying people anymore. And so we have to be on our game. And what's our game? Our game is really to study, experiment, and launch some new ideas that motivate fans to come to games.
Sure. And I believe biometrics and identity will help increase the fan experience and open their wallet a little bit unannounced, where they can do things faster and have a really great time, and maybe get an extra cocktail or an extra hot dog, and just decreasing the friction.
I think, Doug, that's why this relationship between the two organizations is very important for the future. It's one of the, I would say, pillars of the technology side of the house to move us forward so that we can do what you just said. So I just want to thank all of your crew to saw the vision to connect with the Institute, and the Institute's all built about innovation.
Yeah.
And I think the two groups together can create some dynamic opportunities.
Yeah, and we look forward to working with you and partnering with you and being there with you too. So
yeah, you have been, Doug, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be with you and educate our audiences of opportunities. They can go to IIFX.org. If they're, I give you certainly a number to the Center Institute, 601-466-9647.
Awesome. Well, hey, Lou. Thank you for your time.
The other way around, Doug. Great. Talk to you soon.
And so concludes our interview with Dr. Lou Marciani, Director and co-founder of the Innovation Institute for Fan Experience. Learn more about IIFX and register for FANCENTRIC by visiting fancentric.iifx.org. And to reserve your seat for the next FindBiometrics Virtual Identity Summit, visit FindBiometrics.com. The links to both of those sites are in the show notes, so just head over and click now. I would like to thank Lou for joining us on today's episode, and thank you to Doug OGorden for conducting the interview. Our podcast theme music is by Logomrad. I have been your host, Peter Counter. Thank you for listening to the ID Talk Podcast.